Hello, I'm Professor Dawson, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, reporting social issues. During my career in journalism, I carved this out to be my specialty because I really loved being able to tell the stories of people who weren't able to speak for themselves. I felt as if by doing these stories, I was able to shine a flashlight on corners of the world that people wouldn't see without me. And sometimes the world changed just a little bit, and that's what it's all about. What are social issues? These are stories about things such as school failures, mistreatment of the mentally ill, foster care, addiction, Alzheimer's disease, child abuse, poverty, and homelessness. They often deal with people living problems, becoming victims of systems that have gone wrong. One of the things that I love best about social issues reporting is that it's a great blend of news and feature reporting. You show the stories of real people living the problems, experiencing the issues. And by showing those stories, it makes people appreciate the deep reporting you've done to reveal the problems in a system going wrong that's creating victims out of people it's meant to serve. If you didn't have the faces of the people, the real personal stories, nobody would care about the great reporting you had done that showed that people who were about to graduate from high school didn't know how to spell the days of the week or the months of the year, or that children in foster care were being treated abusively by the people meant to protect them. To do this well, you need to report through several tiers of sources. You need to talk to the chiefs. Those are the heads of the systems, and they'll give your stories credibility and context. Those are the people, say, the director of the Division of Children and Family Services, who will say, yes, our system is a mess. It's falling apart. It's hurting children, and we need to fix it. Coming from the top person in charge of the system, that has a lot of credibility. It has a lot of weight. But then you need the middle folks who work with the issue. Those might be teachers, social workers, nurses. They may be people who run soup kitchens and shelters for the homeless. These people are on the front lines dealing with the problem, and they can give you the gritty details of what's going on. You need public records, 990s, inspection reports, maybe for nursing homes, hospitals, criminal cases, things like that. But then the most important part are those on the street level. Those are the people living the problem. Those are the sources that make your reader see the problem that you're trying to talk about. You might have people who have been released from mental hospitals and have nowhere to go and are fighting for their lives on the street. You may have people living in shelters. You might have foster parents who are dealing with children who are setting their homes on fire while they're trying to take care of them. And teachers who go to work in inner city schools every day, fearing for their lives, attacked by the students they're there to teach. How do you approach these stories? How do you start to tackle these and really explain the problems that are being seen by people? Well, you start with the middle level sources to get a real sense of the problem. It's the social workers, the teachers, the people like that who can really show you where the system is stressed. They can show you caseloads of social workers with caseloads that are far too large to tackle on any given day or any given week. They can show you, they can tell you the stories of people who have been left on gurneys in hospitals, waiting for somebody to see them for mental health issues, that kind of thing. Do an initial interview with the chief to get an idea of the scope of the problem, and then go to the street level. If needed, circle back to the chiefs and the people at the middle level. The people at the middle level will often they can refer you to people who are on the street because they work with them every day. The chiefs don't have contact with those people as often. So you need all three levels. Again, the chiefs can lead you to the middle people to the people on the street. So you're about to go on the street. You're walking into a back alley. It's night, and you might be a little bit frightened. You might feel a little awkward. I know I have before, as you're going up to talk to somebody who's digging for his next meal in a dumpster. So how do you get beyond that and kind of get in your comfort zone and feel a little bit more natural talking with them? Tell them why you're doing this story. Realize that so often people at the bottom don't often have people pay attention to them and listen to them. Ask them for their thoughts and their ideas and their opinions. Treat these people as peers. Expect a good conversation from them. Show interest in their lives without judgment. Spend time with them. You need to get them to relax with you, for them to open up and to talk candidly. Show candid compassion. Be open, honest, and sincere with these people. Tell them, I haven't lived through this as you have, so I can't really give readers a good idea of what your life is like without your help. Will you do that for me? Most people buy into that. They want people to understand them, and they'll give you a window to their soul if you show respect for what they have to offer you. Prepare the subject. These are not people like the governor who are used to being interviewed every day. These people have probably never had that opportunity before. You're writing about some of the most sensitive, frightening things they face every day. Tell them, when you read it, it might not all be pretty, but I want you to say, that's my life, that's me. I did a story that I loved about an old farmer and his wife who battled her Alzheimer's disease for 13 years. I would have been remiss to not include information about when he lost his temper with her, or became frustrated, or stormed out of the kitchen, because those moments, mixed with the moments of tender love and compassion, made up the complete picture. And someone dealing with a relative with Alzheimer's disease would have read the story and said, that's not all there is. And so I had to include that. And that would have been hard because he was a great man and was doing a very hard job. But I allowed myself to do that and not feel badly about it by having told him in the beginning, when you read it, it might not all be pretty, but I want you to say, that's my life, that's me. And in the end, that's exactly what he said. The night before the story came out, I went to his house and I read it to him. I felt like I owed him that. He looked at me and he had tears rolling down his cheeks, and he said, you're right. It's not all pretty, but that's my life. That's exactly how it is, and people will know what I live when they read this. Writing the story, make the readers see and know these people. Gather a lot of detail about them with all your senses. Look at what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. Anecdotes and examples are critical to stories like these. When I was doing the story about the farmer and his wife dealing with her Alzheimer's disease, I needed to ask him questions like, At what moments do you miss her most? Because even though she was present in his life, she was gone. And he came back with details like when I come back in from the garden and I toss vegetables on the counter, and she used to pick them up and wash the dirt off of them. And I would have told her about the den of foxes I'd seen out while I was picking the vegetables. He said, it's just a little lonely not being able to do that anymore. Translate jargon. These are real people living real problems. Don't talk about in medical terms or bureaucratic terms. Translate the jargons for your reader. Tie it into the larger problem. You may be telling a story about these 5 homeless teenagers living on the street, but you need to tie it into the larger problem of youth living on the street and give context. How many youth do we think we have in Texas living on the street? Where are they living? Where are they coming from? Why are they there? Pull it all together and then go back to the very personal story. Why do we do this? We show people parts of the world that they'll never see without us. Remember at the beginning, I talked about the greatest reward in my career of covering social issues was feeling as if I really did shine a flashlight in corners of the world that people would not see without me. And in doing that, sometimes change happened. Sometimes things got better for some of those people. Was able to make the world, or at least a tiny bit of it, a little bit better. And that's pretty darn rewarding. You give a voice to people who don't have one. You're able to speak for people who would never be heard by the bureaucrats, by the people who lead systems, by the readers of the newspaper. Sometimes we affect laws, sometimes we affect policies, and sometimes we affect the way people are treated. I did a story once about a crack addict who was pregnant and was really torn between the desire for the drug and the desire to do what was right for the unborn child. She wanted people to understand how tough this was. And that's why she allowed herself to be photographed and her name to be in the paper and for us to write about all of her ups and downs. One of the things that was the toughest for her was going into the grocery store and using food stamps. She felt as if she was judged. She felt as if she was judged by society whenever she went anywhere with her other children. And in the end, she said that after the story came out, she walked into grocery stores and held her head a little higher. She took her kids to the park and held her head a little higher because she felt that anyone who had read that story knew a little bit more about her life and where she had come from.